I went to Eritrea, and while I was there, my ambition was to get to the front line as soon as possible and get the pictures and get out of Eritrea. While we were traveling through, we came to know that just a few days ago, the Ethiopians had bombed a village, and they had thrown a napalm bomb there, and one family is completely burned and in a very bad stage. So I talked to my friends. I said, look, I know it is out of our way, but please, this is what the world wants to see. We went to this village, and I asked the head of the village, please, if you don't mind, can we film the children? He said, no, you can't. He said, they're asleep. I said, look, we are the only crews here to show the outside world what the Ethiopians are doing. He said, okay, fine, but the problem is that you can't use the lights. And this is a room which is pitch dark, and without lights, I cannot do any filming. I said, I'll switch on the camera headlight for 10 seconds and switch off, and then I'll switch it on again for 10 seconds and switch off, and I'll be out of the room. And the children got up. They were sitting on their bed. It was unbelievable. It was totally unbelievable what I saw. You know, when we opened the door, even a slight wind passes through the room would hurt them, like needles going through the body. And I could feel the eye, the pain, when they said, "Ee!" As soon as I switched on the light. I knew the pain I had caused them. Sometimes I myself feel how cruel we, the cameramen, are. But to come out with those pictures, you know, to show the world what really is happening. And the only thing I could say is sorry to God to forgive me for what I've done. And when I came back, I made sure that two pictures, that 20 seconds, is put on air and is shown around the world that what the Ethiopians are doing to these innocent people who have got nothing to do with war, who don't understand what's going on in their country, and they're just about 9, 10 years old, and they were a part of what?
Questions that I didn't ask you because it was too difficult about Somalia, because that's where Dan's career took off, and that's where he really started to become a man. And
True.
You saw his whole progression.
Dan was very cool. He was not like any other cameraman, any other photographer who would rush to a scene and just to capture the shot. He was frightened also, but he was very, very careful of himself. He used to hang around with me. And at the end of the day, whatever he used to shoot, he used to show me. He said, look, Mohammed, this is what I got, this is what I've got. And what do you think? Which one should I send it to Reuters?
He was on a very big high at that time because he was getting into the business and taking some good photographs, and they were getting published. And he was really sort of driven, wanting to go out and do more and get more and more experience and get better and better. Where Dan was very clever was that every professional who came in taught him something. He spent a long time with these guys and learned something from all of them. And so by 3 or 4 months later, Dan was basically our photographer in Somalia. What impressed me about Dan was that he wasn't a risk taker. He knew there'd be another opportunity the next day or the next month. So although he wanted those photographs and he wanted to be involved in the story, he didn't do rash things. And so even though he was very young, I didn't feel irresponsible having someone with that little experience and of that age working for us in such a dangerous situation. It began to get very nasty there in the summer of '93. But Dan was very well entrenched, and I think he felt very much at home there. And he used to come out to Nairobi for short periods of rest and then go back. And unfortunately, just before he died, he said to me that he wanted to come out for a longer period of time. I think it had taken its toll. He wanted to do something else and be tested in a different way. And so he said to me, when I phoned him up and asked him if he'd go in one last time, he said yes, but he wanted it to be the last time.
After Dan was killed, I didn't want to know too many of the details about his death. I couldn't stand to think of my big brother being afraid in his last moments. Shafi would have answered any questions that I had about Dan's death 4 years ago, but I couldn't bring myself to ask a single one. Now he has agreed to take me back into Somalia and show me where Dan worked and where he died. Maybe when I get there, I will finally be ready to hear the whole truth.
Dine only on TBS Destination Sunday.
Return to Dine to Tell the Story on the Superstation.
A man called Dabo Abuka was killed yesterday. 2 young boys died today. What sorrow. Every day on Radio Mogadishu, dozens of incidents like these can be heard. Sad, senseless deaths. In Somalia, the AK-47 has replaced the law. To arrive in Mogadishu for the first time is like falling into hell.
Finally, I will be able to see for myself this place that had such a hold on Dan. He was so well loved in Somalia that the people there called him the mayor of Mogadishu. He blossomed there, and yet it was that place that killed him. I feel anxious because I don't know what I will find on this journey, but I do know that I have to go there.
Yes.
What's his name?
His name is Muhammad. I know him.
Yeah. Sahafi. And Sahafi means journalist, right?
Yes. Journalist.
So it used to be wall to wall with journalists?
We used to be here.
Yeah.
And that's a road going to the airport. And we were here. I was standing here, exactly here, right opposite that door. The house which was bombed is just behind those houses here. All of this area, it was full of helicopters, you know, Cobras, Black Hawks, and firing from such a short range. They were right at the top of the rooftops of the houses, and they were killing anybody on the street.
Unfortunately, that was the day Dan was going to leave. And Hoss was sent in as his replacement. Dan was packed. And Hoss went to the journalist's hotel to meet Dan. They put their bags down there. And then there was the report of this house that had been attacked by American helicopter gunships. And reports that a lot of people were killed. And the Americans had clearly thought Mohammed Aidid, the warlord, was in the house. And it appeared that he hadn't been. And so a convoy of journalists decided to go up to the house to see really what had happened. And of course, both Hoss and Dan went together. Dan didn't have to go. He could have gone down to the airport. But, you know, he worked very closely with Hoss, and as I said, he was very keen on the story, and he didn't want to miss a big story on his last day.